Northeast Cryptid Removal Organization is a Facebook page started in 2020 by my friend Austin. It has since grown to the large status of a 40,000 plus like page and posts about Mothman's asshole. Welcome to the podcast. Woo. Okay.
Welcome to our first holiday episode.
The good one. It's the weed number. It's 420.
The reasons for the seasons.
Okay, I am your ghostess with the mostest, David Marks. My pronouns are he, they.
Hey, it's Tom, Comrade Tom, he, him.
This is Christian, he, him.
This is Necro, he, him.
We brought Necro here just because this felt like something he'd want to be here for.
Yeah.
Okay, so we just did the Century Series episode, and since it's LMAO Weed Number Day, we're going to talk a little bit more about one of the most prolific locomotives from the series, which is the C-420. Um, there's 30% of these are still around. I think I was reading or something from their original production in the
Really?
'60s, which is pretty cool when you think about it.
That's huge for a locomotive that's pushing, what, 70?
Yeah, I mean they were all made in the '60s. But the M420s are newer, but
Right. But still, I mean, okay, so I'm bad at math, but 60-year-old locomotive, that's fantastic.
especially from a dead builder. I mean, I get excited if I see anything with a Saab badge at all, even like the GM,
Yeah.
even the GM, just rebadged Chevrolets that they sold. I'm like, oh fuck, a Saab. And Saab
Yeah,
only went away a few years ago. This was like 60.
right. And so, the other thing that we need to mention is, if you did not watch the Century Series podcast, number
Yeah, I
one, you
wouldn't worry
need
about it.
to.
You're fine. You'll follow.
Yeah. But you should still watch it. Number two, the 420 is the first locomotive in the Century Series, and we're just gonna break down really quick what 420 is for. Well, C420. It's Alco Century Series, four axle, and then correct me if I'm wrong, guys, 2,000 horsepower.
That is
Correct.
correct.
Okay. And then this is using a Alco 251 motor, which is the only fact I know about this. Is now the only locomotive that I know what motor is actually in it.
Hey,
Specifically a
this
12 cylinder.
yeah, that's how it starts. If you learn one, that was me with the GP15T.
Yep. So now that we've milked this meme, which I'm very happy with, this was a good meme.
This is good. Yeah, I'm sitting here a little toasty, enjoying it very much.
We're gonna make
Summer
we're
content.
gonna if any of you have a old decrepit Tyco 420, Alco 420,
I'm gonna smoke weed
that
out
is
of it. Sell it to me for $10.
yeah, it's just junk. Just send it to David so he can make a bong out of it
Yeah,
because I think that's a
if you
fantastic
know
idea.
what, any patrons or anybody out there, uh, man, I'll send you a video. I'll show you how I do it. If you want to just send that to the podcast, we're gonna turn it into a weed joke.
So yes, we're gonna keep an eye out on a super fucking cheap Alco 420 from Tyco for David. Um, and then we're gonna
Monon
start
did
this
Mike
off with
Pence.
this. Monon did Mike Pence. Um, but look at the super clean image. I'm not a huge fan of that Monon paint scheme, but god damn, it looks pretty on this.
Man, look, the image looks so good because this went to a good Union pixel compressing factory back in the day. That's what that is right there. That's a good crew of hardworking folks compressed every pixel in there for you. It ain't like nowadays with the modern computers.
Yeah. No, but
Some,
I mean, just look at that's a sharp paint scheme.
I
You
like
something
it
know,
a lot.
interesting about these locomotives is that these were bought to replace the C628s after they sold them to the LV because they found they were too big for their track.
I also this is what I use to make that scheme for those converted narrow gauge units I was showing you guys in trains. Like that, the gold there is what I was thinking of. I
oh,
was like, yeah, I want to get that Monon gold. It looks really nice.
yeah. So wait, they ordered 628s and then they're like, no, this is no. And then they were like, can you give us some 420s instead?
Yeah, they barely lasted a couple years, and then they sold them the Lehigh Valley, and then
So
they got these to replace them.
I'd like to
Oh,
riff
and those
on
Lee.
I'd like to riff on that a little bit with a theory, and my theory is, you know how like railroads ordered the six-axle Alcos for the opposite of why they did in the '60s, prior. If you needed an RS3 that could run down some real shit track, you got the six-axle one that was lighter on its feet. It had the same amount of traction motors. It just had an extra axle to spread out the weight.
Right.
Um, and I have to just wonder if someone at because locomotive salesmen could sell a lot of sweet stories. I just wonder if they neglected to tell the Monon that like it's not going to work that way with a super like the six axle Centuries are very heavy locomotives. Um, and I don't think that it's not going to be just it's not going to be a C420 with an extra axle and the same amount of horsepower. And I
Right.
have to wonder if nobody at Alco mentioned that because they wanted to sell the bigger one instead.
Well,
It was
that was the kind of interesting thing that I'd like to get some more philosophy discussion, later on in a completely different video that's not a meme video about when the SDs and the six axle units went from, okay, you're buying this unit because it's going to be lighter on your branch lines, to I'm buying this unit to haul massive amounts of freight,
Well, this is the
because
first
there's a
era you really
huge.
see it taken off. I mean, you get your SD40, your big horsepower, your SD45s, your U30s, and your C630s. Uh,
Yeah. So that's
this is
that's a
this is
really
the
that's
first
an
era.
it's an interesting change to me, and I'd like to discuss that in another time and place.
Yeah.
Here are the Long Island ones that we had talked about.
Show me that pot
Um,
signal, baby. Show me that pot signal. See, on the other hand, this is what happens when you got a Long Island mob running your Union House for your pixel compressors. You get this necro quality image right here.
yeah,
Necro
yeah, you
needs
could.
to do a you need to do a post on just a living Long Island Railroad C420. Like I need I
I
need I
mean,
need to hear the tale of Necro conquering this fucking bastard in the wild.
After he separated another one from ass to ass, as
Yeah,
as he did for
yeah,
as he did for Conrail.
yeah. That was actually an SDP 45. Necro smacked it so hard it turned into a Jeep 38 and a Jeep 15.
So, man, David? Is this your former territory?
I don't know exactly where this is, but yeah, I definitely
I
worked on.
don't fucking know either,
I
but
worked on LI plenty.
okay, because you were saying something about the signal, and I'm like, oh,
Oh
I have
yeah,
no
it's
idea
the
what that
pod
is.
signals. That's what the little dwarfs right there is called. They call them.
Yeah.
They call on the corridor. They call them pot signals. And then your mast aspects are lollipops. And then you got automatics, overheads, and home boards, depending on what and who you're talking to for the bridge
Now,
signals.
is that signal just like a cut up fucking
It's a
Pennsylvania
position. Yeah,
Railroad
it's
one?
it's a PRR style position light. So what it's showing
Okay.
right now is a stop signal. If it's horizontal, no go. If it's vertical, go. If it's anything other than those two, it's go, but like just kinda.
Sig- Signals are so fucking weird. We'll have to do a video just on
Oh,
signals
I'll
at some
give you the I'll
point.
give you the hee haw crash course on fucking
Oh my god.
position signals. I get you guys good at that shit in like 10 minutes. It's the easiest shit in the
Yeah.
world. The
The only thing I know is that if it's not just red, it's not red at all.
uh that's a good rule of thumb, but there's a lot of signal rules in general I can't tell you, but goddamn, especially the position signal light. PRR had that figured out. Like the color position signal light, it's dummy proof. It's both kinds of signal in one. You cannot misinterpret what it means.
And that was so cool the PRR did that. I don't remember. Did they do that intentionally,
Yeah, I
or did
mean,
they
I
do
know that
that?
adding color was, if I'm not mistaken, just a way to literally just you can't mistake what this is. Not only is it and I think it was also to work with maybe people that used other signal systems so that it still made sense if you looked
Yeah.
at it. But it makes it's idiot proof. If it's a stop, it's horizontal and it's red, and if it's vertical and it's green, it's go.
Yeah, I know that they were the cool thing with them is that you could have colorblind engineers.
Yes.
Um, okay, moving on. Um, this is this is hometown sexy.
Oh, that is so
I mean,
good.
not hometown, but it's close. Um,
I want the skin of
this
trains, man. These look good.
they are, and it's so goddamn simple. It's just like gold banding, and then just this gold circle, and then you had these safety stripes on the back.
Oh man, you want to know something
Uh,
neat that just happened to me today?
what?
Found out somebody's working on finishing a mesh for a C415 for trains that looks pretty good, and I saw it and then I messaged him and I was like, hey, if you end up making this thing, like I'll shout it out on the podcast or whatever because I really like it. And he's like, actually, I started finishing it because you guys were talking about it on there, and I was like, hey, I really want one of those, so I'm just gonna start name dropping things I want for Train Simulator and then wait as they fall into my lap.
That's amazing.
That's badass because I
Um,
have been bitching and complaining about wanting a C415 for trains for many, many years.
so now what's a 415?
That's the weird center cab fucker that Rock Island and SP had, but he's
Oh,
doing like the Rock Island spec one.
okay.
Yeah, pretty based.
All right.
I
Now I remember. Now I
hey,
remember the thing that I put together in the podcast last.
I need it. I need a C630. Look, I'm gonna need some of y'all to let me hold a C630.
Preferably in C&O paint.
I don't care.
Just. I
Any
do,
version,
motherfucker.
whatever the easiest version is to make. I have
Which
people.
is
I
gonna
have
be
gremlins.
the C&O version because David wants the high ad trucks.
Yes, but I got gremlins out there that can modify meshes. It's cool. Just give me the big picture. Let me get a C630.
Um. So, anyways, what I learned in my 5 seconds of research for our podcast tonight is how the D&M numbered things. So this is locomotive 976. All that means is that the D&M acquired this locomotive coincidentally from Long Island in September of 1976.
I love that.
Ooh.
Um, and then Lake State continued that practice because Lake State basically just picked up the people from um, Detroit and Mackinac. Um, and I'm sad because that is the only picture I could really find of 976 after it went to Lake State, which it's gonna get its own episode, probably for Patreons only, um, because it's really cool. I actually got to see these Alcos probably about like '06 or something up in Saginaw, and they were really cool because they all had these little like City of West Branch or they're all named locomotives, which I think is really cool. That's an old timer holdover from back in the day that I think it was really cool they can then continue doing.
I don't know if
Um,
I don't know if it was if it was C420s or if it was RS somethings, but I broke into some old Ottawa Central ones, and they were in Georgiana, Alabama, where Hank Williams Sr. is from.
They
They were
might be
they were
RS-18s.
yeah, that's what it was. Yeah, it was them, and there was a BC Rail SD40, bunch of UP junk, Illinois Central SD40. I went in the cab of all of it. I was like probably 12 or 13. I was in a black shirt with pink text that said "I hate pink shirts." Meanwhile, I sold a bunch of pink merch for my band, so growth.
yeah. Well, there was that kind of toxic maxulent. Oh my god,
Yeah, those are words.
toxic
Masculinity.
toxic masculinity
Toxic
thing, like
masculinity.
in the early to mid thousands, like about pink, and I like out there, I'm like, man, you know what looks good? Salmon cover colored dress shirts. Those things make you
Oh,
look
you know,
sexy.
kidding. I like in my racing games, I'll get an RX-7, like the good one, and I'll put a
Hmm.
matte, like a salmon pink and like a matte paint on them. I love that.
I've
Oh my
always
god,
been more of a bubblegum pink kind of guy.
the
Understandable.
last uh, the last wedding that wasn't ours that I went to, um, I wore a salmon colored shirt and like a black tie in my suit. And my wife's like, "Damn, you look good," and I'm like, "Bitch, I know."
I'm out here flexing. I see a lot of Lake State rail cars around sometimes, especially when I go back through Alabama. I see them.
Yeah. I mean, it's a cool railroad. I was just telling Christian before he jumped on. I'm like, man, if we get a house and I go to HO scale, I'm not sure what I'm gonna do. Am I gonna do PM in the 20s? Am I gonna do PM in the 50s? Or am I gonna fuck it all and just do Lake State in the early 2000s?
You can just
Um,
do like what I'm doing with my current project on trains and doing it where, with a little bit of modification, you can easily swap eras for taking pictures.
yeah, man, I've gotten the prototype modeling bug.
And that's
Um,
okay. But you also
plus,
you need to
I've never got
embrace my chaos and just have a little bit of everything you like.
I do, and don't get me wrong, I'll still buy these and run them on the layout. They just won't match the theme.
Mm.
So, speaking of Lake State,
Oh God,
um,
I've done like 15 skins on these in trains easily. Also, that
yeah,
Shopnose RS rebuild back there looks fucking good.
yeah, this is a project I would like to accomplish.
Oh yeah, that
Again,
reminds me of that's like
that's a
HS
former,
913. Man, I love it.
it's a former D&M locomotive. That one's September of '74. So, what 2 years earlier than this one.
Jeez, that's
Um,
got to be ex Green Bay Western.
it might be. I don't know. You think I actually do research for this? I mean, this one I can tell you is a CN acquisition.
Well, yes.
Um, this is an M420, which I had to double check with Christian. These locomotives are basic. They're just 420s that are built later by Montreal Locomotive Works, by the French. Um, and see this one. See, they named this one too, City of Alpena. I really like that. I just like that they just kind of named fucking everything.
The M420s were
Um,
not bad locomotives, by the way. This is a bit of a stigma, I feel, and I mean, I might just be reading the internet wrong, but I feel like a lot of people think these things were flops, and they're not. It's just we just live in a time where Alco is not on class ones anymore. There's a lot more of these around than you think, too, but a lot of times you see them being used as part sources for other Alcos. I think that's the case on um, oh man, I know like a couple Ohio Central ones got cannibalized for parts, but you know,
well, I mean, that's what happens when we're talking about, even these. When did Montreal stop building them? The late '70s.
yeah,
So
Montreal
I think that
Montreal went on under Bombardier till the late 80s.
yeah, these some of these were built pretty late.
that's kind of cool. But I mean, still, you're talking about a 30-year-old locomotive that hasn't had parts made for it for 30
Well,
years.
they do. That's actually not true. GE will make any Alco part. They're very expensive. There's also a couple of other companies that make parts for them, because the 251, I believe, is still produced under license, isn't it?
It's Fairbanks Morris owns the tooling, and I imagine that's where probably the parts come from.
Yeah, I
Yep.
think GE
But
parts brokers a lot of that, which
but
GE parts
nonetheless,
brokers EMD parts as well. So I mean,
it's gonna be fucking expensive.
oh yeah, that's their parts for
And
these
at
are expensive.
some point you look in the mirror and you go, maybe it's time to make that EMD move because there's a lot of class ones that are getting out of their second gen EMD power now.
Yeah, well,
Um,
you're starting to see GE on the used market as well. Finally, nobody would really touch it at first because what was sold was the most ragged out shit on the rosters. Like,
right.
you don't see a lot of CSX B30s out anywhere at all, and that's because they were bad.
Well, but the other thing is that you got to take into account, man, the emission standards now. There's so many class ones that are upgrading to stuff with better emission standards because they have to. And so, these smaller and older locomotives are getting on the used market, if not just for that, because they have to cut their carbon emissions.
Yeah, and it's going to be a scary day for short line railroading when they actually start making short lines be emission compliant.
I'm gonna be so excited when I see Lake State running fucking Gevos.
Oh
You
man, that's like I think of like I mean Florida East Coast is a really weird railroad, so like it kind of works for them. But seeing like Arkansas and Missouri replace their fleet of C-420s with two SD-70 Aces, but like not even completely replace them, just take a few out of mainline service every day, and then half the time their road trains will be like a 70 Ace and two C-420s. That's
right,
like that's
right. Just because,
such a
like, oh
cool.
yes, my emissions are better. But like, could you imagine this paint scheme on a fucking Gevo
Oh,
or a
smack!
SD-70?
It would
Yeah,
You
it'd
smack.
be
guys want to know a
amazing.
report I found in the GE office at my internship?
What?
What?
I'll tell you guys, I found this report in the GE office at my internship. They had a concept ES23B, six-cylinder inline Gevo, four-axle, that they proposed, but it was never built.
That's sexy.
Okay. Yeah, I need that to happen. I need to know what it would look like.
They had diagrams and everything. I'll see if I can find them
You need to send me those.
for
Yeah,
sure.
you need to send us all those.
Okay.
It was the
Anyways, let's.
ES23B.
Oh yeah, I
But you
need
know,
that.
it's one of those things that like EMD and GE do not make four axle power anymore, really.
Nobody does.
And it's just like I think I was watching a Danny Harmon video, and CSX was using some six axle to switch out. I think it was a lumber yard,
Oh
and
yeah,
it
they
was like,
they they use six axles. They use like AC-44s to switch the Dothan yard.
yeah,
They were
it's just
breaking
like
in those tier 4 SD70s is what they were doing, just kind of trying them out on a bunch of different stuff.
still that's just so wild to me to see six axles doing locals now.
Yeah, it's
Um,
pretty much all CSX and NS. I mean, NS uses SD60Es around me, but
Yeah, and like here in my end of town, man, I they used to switch out the paper mills with an old Grand Trunk GP38 that was still in the Grand Trunk scheme, and
good.
it was actually pretty well maintained. It wasn't weathered to shit, but it's probably because it only made like a 10-mile journey every day.
I've spent a lot of
Um,
time in ex Grand Trunk GP38s on the Bay line, and also those five custom rebuilt derated 38s that I showed you on trains are all also ex GTW spec.
oh, cool.
I love GTW Jeeps.
Yeah, I miss them. I've got some good photos. When we do a Grand Trunk episode, we'll have to do that. But
I
like
busted like
now,
man, I busted like three quarters of a nut when I played in Detroit because like I drove under a bridge that had the GT logo on it.
yep.
I had never been to Michigan before. I was having a great time. And
Man,
then
next
David,
time
the show that I played ended up being a BDSM event, and I didn't find out till I got there, so that was pretty
I
wild.
saw that in your memories the other day,
It's
and I
good
was like,
stuff.
ah,
Tour,
that's what he was talking
yeah,
about.
tour is fun. Anyways, you want to
Oh,
flip slides? I got kids. I gotta get off.
oh, that's right, you got
Yeah,
kids.
I got
All
kids.
right. So, just a quick reminder, guys, it is 420, or it will be 420 when you're seeing this. Make sure you're living out your Jivin juice for Snoop Dogg so he can leave you some of that dank kush.
Yep, 420.
Um,
Yep. Weed,
420.
weed, Lamau. Give
And
me
then
your
just
money. Give me your money. Let me have that money.
support us on Patreon, guys. We do have a lot of episodes that go out for our Patreon people. It only takes $1 a month to be part of it. I'm doing a series right now. I'm doing a Freemo module. I don't know if any of the other guys here have watched it and can give you opinion. I'm gonna say it's good because I'm making it, but
Everybody, I mean,
um,
everybody that watches it watches every single episode. Like the view count is steady with every episode, so I know the people that like it because they all watch it.
that's cool.
Because it's an
I'm glad
unlisted
I'm
link.
making
You
content.
only get it. You only get access to it from Patreon, and it's like almost all the subs watch it. One of the subs is Sky, and she's be goddamn for she likes trains. So you're not always gonna have the max count, but
Right.
yeah, almost the whole
Uh,
Patreon watches every single episode, so they're eating
that's
it up.
cool. That makes me feel
Oh,
good.
and do you like gambling? Risk $30 to get all the regular shit and maybe a model train. Drawing at the end of the month. Only 3 competitors.
Yeah, so even if you enter, you're looking at a 25% chance. And who knows? I might still do two cars because I'm very impressed with everybody that was willing to pony up for our first time. So it
Hey,
may even be 50%. I'm not sure. It depends on how lazy I am.
it It really is. All right. Yep. Anyways,
Patreon, please
patreon.com/TTWCA.
like and subscribe. Somebody go to Rapido and ask them to do a second run of those 420s, but with Lake State paint on them, so that I don't have to paint it myself.
Follow my OnlyFans, Sexy Karl Marx 420. Follow Northeast Cryptid Removal Organization. I love you so much. Oh, also,
Somebody,
he said I get to be admin on 420.
yeah,
Get
it was
ready.
kind of a celebration video.
I'm coming. I'm coming for the Bog Witch.
Somebody, somebody make David a 630 scheme for trains,
I need just
and
the mesh. You
then
ain't even got to put. Just give me a blank. Just give me a
and
blank.
then make sure that you guys hit up Christian for all your DCC needs.
Yep, that's an episode.
Yep. All right.